Well, how's my posture? Hey everybody, thanks for joining in. We have a really cool show. I'm glad that you're watching this either live or if it's recorded. I think you're really going to enjoy this show. This is something I think about all the time, and the older I get, the more I think about this. Is how is my posture? And the reality, I think we all know that most of us can really benefit from getting some tips on getting better with our posture. So, in this particular show, we're going to give you five really, really cool tips that you're going to learn from our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. PJ Kennedy. And he has a lot of information around the subject. So, we're pretty stoked to go over that with him. The good news, too, for those of you folks that know about the Work So Well family, we have some things to help you with those little stiffness and discomfort in the neck, shoulders, knees, and so forth. It's the One TDC. And there's a One TDC starter pack that we have launched recently that gets you 4 bottles of the One TDC. Plus, you get a cream with it. And because you're watching this particular show right now, you're going to be able to get an extra $16 off that discounted package already. The link will be on the show, so you'll be able to see that and use the code Stronger15. All right, let's get into this. So, I'm going to bring Dr. PJ. He's our chief medical officer, Dr. Kelly, and he is very knowledgeable when it comes to posture. So I'm pretty stoked to bring him on. Here we go. Here he comes. Hey, Dr. Kelly, thank you for joining us.
How are you, Olivier? How's everything going?
Doing busy, but I got to tell
Good.
you, I got those discomforts in there, and I was waiting for this show for a long time to get the knowledge from you on how I'm going to fix that posture. And I'm
All
sure
right, let's get to it.
let's get to it. All right, so there's 5 tips that you're going to give us. So let's talk about, well, probably what everyone knows is this whole idea of fixing that text neck, right? We're all like on our phones and stuff. So what's the scoop? What's the story? What do we need to know about text neck?
So this is a great diagram. If you look at anterior weight bearing head, which can be straight out, in the sense of you're out here,
Yep.
or it could just be down like this. And what that actually does, it effectively makes your head heavier. So all the muscles in the back of the neck have to work harder to hold that head up. It creates the fatigue, trigger points, and starts to cause all that dysfunction in the back of the neck. And it's a chain that is truly much longer than that. It affects the SCM muscles, these ones right here that attach to the sternum and clavicle. It also affects some of the abdominal muscles because the second we do this, you almost can't do this without also bringing your sternum towards your waistline.
That's
So it's
true.
a big chain of events. So it's just text neck is not just the neck, although that's where we feel it the most.
So how do we fix this? I mean, what tips can you give me to fix that text neck?
Um, so the easiest one is some things we can change. You've heard me say this before. We're patterns of what we do. Some patterns can be changed, some patterns cannot. The first thing I do to my patients is I give them an example. I said, this is what you're doing. I'll see the kids sitting there while I'm treating the mom or dad or vice versa, and they're literally looking at their phone like this. And I'll walk over to them. I'll take their phone and I put it in my hand and I put it underneath like this, and I look at it like this.
So you're
Pretty
literally
simple.
that is simple. So you basically, because make sure we can see a little bit bigger the screen. So you're saying instead of looking down, you're putting your arm underneath, so near your armpit, and then bring it up so it's at your closer to your eye level.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's not at eye level. Maybe it's here instead of here, but they're all improvements.
Excellent.
Like my kids, when they were really little and started the first like look at screens, um, they got 2 warnings. If I had to tell them twice to stop looking down, they lost their screen. So they adapted. They would stack pillows on their lap on the couch, and then they'd set their screen on top of the pillow. They would also, which this one was pretty cool, they would kneel on the back of the couch, on the couch backwards, and they would set their screen on the back of the couch. So now it was at their height.
Excellent.
And
Right
and
there.
then the easiest one is they would lay on their back, or I'm sorry, they would lay on their belly, and it would be laying there. So they'd have to get in this posture to watch it, which was always nice.
Mm.
We do very little things where we're looking like stretching backwards.
Okay, well, that brings us to tip number 2. So let's go into this because now we got the tip about the tech snack. Be conscientious of that. Little trick, I really like this. Bring this up. We're doing anything you can to bring it back up. But so let me ask you, what is the ultimate stretch? Because there's a lot of people, we talk about that. There's all kinds of stretching, all kinds of teachings. But at the end of the day, if I had to narrow it down, what's the ultimate stretch that I can do to help my body?
So my favorite one, because it hits so many areas with one stretch, is those big Swedish balls, which you can see the picture right there. And I instruct my patients, and I do this one where I lay on the ball just like that, and I have different progressions of it. Some, your arms are literally just down at the sides wherever they fall. You're not trying to keep them in any specific place, like this lady here.
Mm,
You always want your head touching the ball, so you don't want it to where you've rolled down towards your waist to where now the head isn't suspended by, or isn't touching the ball, where you're actually holding it up. That's not what you want. You want to get to the point where the head's touching the ball and you're in extension, uh, as such, and you just hang out there. That's the beauty of it. Before I got rid of my cable, I used to watch TV upside down on it.
really?
Yeah, because to truly do that ligament stretch, and I know we've talked about this in the past. If you're seeing this live, I would go back and look at some of the other ones because it really explains how ligaments and muscles function, and more importantly, how do you elongate and stretch them. So when you're doing it like that, remember we talked about the SCM, we talked about the abdominals, you're getting it all. The other variation of that, just relating to the neck, is some people's anterior weight bearing isn't this. It's here.
Right.
So this is protraction of the neck. So that's where you want it to be. Now, when you practice that one, you are holding that back. So that is where you're not just relaxed. You are holding it back. And then when you do that, you will have to adjust the ball. You will roll it closer up towards between your shoulder blades
Okay.
until your head touches, and you are forcibly holding it there. So that's the two variations of that for the neck.
Excellent.
And as you see this lady here, her arms are just comfortably down at her sides. The other one I do is I put them above my head. And,
Okay.
and again, just let them fall where they may. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I always say that, find different spots. Roll towards your hips, roll that ball up towards your shoulder blades. Feel where you get the best stretch. And we've talked about it in the past. The pec muscles are one of the main things that drive bad posture.
Okay.
Everything we do is a shortened pec. The second I put my phone here, that just activated my pec. It's like a bench press. This has shortened my pec. The second I type, the second I drive, all of those things are shortening my pec. Any muscle you put in a shortened position, well, it wants to stay that way, and you get your contractures, and you get the shortened muscles.
Excellent. So, Dr. Kelly, how long should we do that? How many times a day, and how long should that holding that position should be?
There's not a single answer to that. What I do want patients to understand is ligaments, which is truly what you're trying to stretch when you have bad posture.
Right.
It's not muscles. Muscle stretch quickly. You can stretch a good muscle stretch in 20 seconds. Ligament stretch in minutes. So
Okay.
I like to tell my patients to build up to 12 minutes of that stretch.
Wow.
All variations, not
Holding
each
it that
variation.
long for 12 minutes?
Yeah, that's why I used to watch TV.
Right.
Don't look at your phone when you're there, because then that's not good either. But so the time limit is very, very important, because if you're only doing it for 20 seconds, you're stretching the muscles,
Okay.
and you're not stretching the ligaments, and the ligaments are what is the goal.
Okay. That's a great
So you
tip.
start out small, a minute here, a minute there. Make sure you're not having any issues, not getting any
No
dizziness,
pain.
and build up to 12 minutes.
All right, excellent. Okay, so that's the ultimate stretch, and it's simple. I think a lot of us have those balls. If not, get one. They're inexpensive, but they'll make a huge difference. So that's the daily stretch. And can I do that twice a day, or is once a day enough, or is as much as I can tolerate?
You definitely don't need to do it twice a day,
Okay, well, that's good.
because it is long. You're talking about working up to a 12-minute stretch,
Yeah.
even a couple times a week, not even every day.
Okay.
And again, like I say, we're trying to counteract patterns of our lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
If you are a diabetic who needs a lot of insulin, You need more insulin than the person who doesn't, just like
Right.
the stretch. So you got to
Right.
find out what works for you. And when you're doing that, what you should feel is that you should feel this coming back naturally. You can't decide to have good posture. The second you get in that perfect posture, I guarantee you don't have more than 45 seconds before something starts burning in your back.
That's
And that's
true.
yeah.
That's so
So
true.
you have to get good posture, not have it.
Okay, that's a really good tip. So patience, patience, patience. So let's talk about now. We talked about the ultimate stretch. Let's talk about exercises. Like what exercises, or should I do any exercises to allow me to hold that good posture without burning my back? Basically, what would be some of the good exercises that, and maybe there's probably a progression to that. How would you lead into that?
Yeah, so I always try to keep it simple because we were always taught when you get over 12 minutes, compliance falls off the face of the earth. So you want to try to keep it simple. If the person's getting a benefit from that, they will likely choose to add more stuff in, but you just don't want to give them too much to do.
Right.
So again, we hardly ever do this stuff. We're always doing this stuff.
So true.
So these are really simple progression of what I like. They're planks. Okay. The simplest plank is you're just laying on your belly and you're doing alternating arm and leg, as you can see in this photo here. So that'll be very easy. As long as you don't have any stomach discomfort or anything like that, most people can do that. And you're just alternating. And you can start with, 5 to 10 reps and build up to, whatever you want. It's an ab workout, so it's not like it's a heavyweight low rep. You
Right.
can do a lot of ab exercises. So just think of that as a ab type exercise.
All right. I think you've got some images for progressions for us. So let's. I'm able to do the one flat on the floor. So leg out, opposite arm out. Let's go.
Mhm.
How do I get better? You want to maybe explain that picture to us? What's
Yeah,
it?
so this one is the progression, the next progression. Instead of being on your belly, now you're actually creating a plank without the belly supported. So you're on your hands and knees. And the fact of when you lift one arm, one leg, it activates different muscle groups
Mhm.
and gives you just a much better progression. You just get those muscles get stronger faster.
Got it. So that's the progression in our ultimate posture exercises. So let's go. I think you've got one more picture for us for the advanced group, which probably got a lot of people watching this show. Actually, we got some very athletic loyal customers. That one is hard. That is not an easy
Yeah,
one to do. The
yeah. So
balancing is hard.
that is a full plank. I mean, you're doing a plank, and a variation of that one when you get to you want to get off your hands and knees, uh, then put your knees down on the ground. So it's just your elbows or even your hands, but your knees instead of your feet. That's actually a progression in between, and it works out well too. But as you can see, you want to have a straight line there, like her body.
Yeah.
Uh, you don't have to lift up arms when you first start out. Just practice holding that plank. I try to get my patients to be able to hold a plank for around the 45-second mark. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard, but it is.
Mhm.
And you really can advance quickly with those. And so what we're trying to do with these are postural muscles, and there's two different kinds of muscles. You have white fiber, fast twitch. That's what you do when you're playing tennis, playing basketball,
Sure.
any kind of dynamic activity, or even weightlifting. When you're doing slow motion movements, that's where you're targeting the red muscle fibers, which are our postural muscles. They're what help us hold ourselves in space, which that's what posture is how are we in space.
Mhm.
So that's the bonus of these.
Excellent. All right. So you've got your tip number three. We got three exercises inside of this packed in for the ultimate posture exercise. So let's talk about, because the truth is a lot of that discomfort is not just the back, but a lot of it, truth be told, I got to tell you, especially as I said earlier, as getting older, I definitely feel it a lot more in my neck than I used to. So what tips can you give us specifically for cervical, for the neck stretching?
So to delve into text neck, so we'll go backwards a little bit. Not only is it the anterior weight bearing looking down, you lose your cervical curve. Our cervical curve is meant to curve forward in this fashion,
Okay.
and all the stuff that we do like this You can actually get a straightened curve. Worse, you can get a reversed curve. And again, I would definitely go check out some of our non-live ones that we have recorded. It goes into that very deep and shows great videos of reverse cervical curve and so forth.
Yeah.
But basically what you want to do, and again, you're stretching ligaments at this point, not muscles. You just want to try to do something to push forward and restore that curve. A rudimentary way of doing that, you've probably heard of this. Take a towel, roll it up, put it behind your neck, and pull.
I got a picture for
Your
that.
neck, yeah. Now your neck is actually curving around that roll of towel.
Okay. And how much pressure are you putting in? Are you pushing back with your neck, or with your head? What's the flow?
It's you're not beating it into submission. Truthfully, you want to feel the stretch, and it should be comfortable. And you'll feel that. Like when you do that, and you feel your head drop back like that, that's a good feeling, and you just hold it. Now, of course, if you have something going on where that's uncomfortable to do that, even with a little pull, then I'd highly recommend seeing a doctor because you got something going on. Because that should not be painful. It should be actually quite comfortable.
Okay, that's a great tip. So should I do this before I do the ultimate stretch, or should I do this after?
So I would do the ultimate stretch all by itself.
Okay.
Okay. Find something that you can actually do. If it's listening to music, whatever, keep that separate because 12 minutes to your regular workout, again, you might skip that a lot. So find something that you enjoy, like whether it be, if you like music, put on that station that plays the newest tunes, listen to them.
Get distracted.
Yeah. So, so I wouldn't do that. I personally never did that with my
Together.
normal routine.
Okay, that's good.
At the office, because it's a big ball, you may find a lot of significant others don't like it rolling around the living room or wherever you keep it. So I do mine at the office. I meditate and then I hop on that.
Okay, that's good. That's a good idea. I should get you into the zone first. I know there's some other pictures that you shared with us for this video around the neck stretching. So you want to talk more about this, and where can people get this?
Truthfully, just Google it. You'll find them.
Okay.
A lot of this kind of stuff, I don't even carry at my office. I just I'll Google it for them or on Amazon and say go pick it up. A lot of times the price on Amazon is so close to what I have to pay for it on through one of my vendors. So, but this one is nice because if you look, it has layers. So you can start out with just the top one because again, the higher you push up and the straighter your neck is, or worse, reversed, that's going to be uncomfortable. So that's a pretty good one right there. And again, you can do that with a towel, just laying there too. Because again, this goes right back to we're stretching ligaments. You want that to be a progression of time.
Excellent.
Working up to 5 to 10 minutes, even 12, just like the other one.
Excellent. You've got us a picture here with another device. That sounds like the real deal here. What's the difference with this one? And I guess probably just Google that one. Well, what's the deal? What's the benefit here?
That's one of my favorite ones. It's called the Posture Pump, and it holds the head in place, and obviously your body weight holds your shoulder in place, so you can really push that neck without having to activate the arms and sitting there pulling it. And it's more of a push because you're not using just body weight like the stackable one that we just looked at.
Got it.
So again, like if you're laying there and it's pushing up, and now you have this pushing down,
right?
You're really accomplishing that restoration of a cervical curve.
Got it. Well, you don't want to get stuck going outside with that one.
No,
keep this at home.
I've used that extensively. I like it.
All right, cool.
But again, there's multiple ones out there. If you see something that's meant to restore a cervical curve, it probably has some validity. So, look around, see something you like. I don't endorse any certain one.
Okay. So you've helped us with the fixing your text neck, which is a big one. We've talked about the ultimate daily stretch, which I really like that. I think working up to the 12 minutes will be tough, but I think I'm going to work on that. The ultimate posture exercises, I think that's great. And then you just covered right now the cervical stretch. Is there anything else that is significant to help us in having a healthier posture? Any final tip for tip number 5?
I rarely do a live without mentioning this. It's water.
Water.
Yeah.
What's the correlation between my posture
So
and
let
water?
me give you the visual.
Okay.
If you're a meat eater or a pescatarian, whatever, if you have a fresh cut of meat
Yeah.
and jerky, you can see the difference. Obviously, if you get the jerky, you have passed. But when you get somewhat dehydrated, you leave that fresh, healthy meat and start going towards that. So what happens is, if you look at jerky, it's dehydrated and shrunk. It becomes much smaller. So when it shrinks, guess what it does? It's attached to things in our body. You have an origin and an insertion, and when it shrinks, it's yanking on that origin and insertion more. So think about that. And I always go back to people who have like tennis elbow or something like that. I don't really put much efficacy in the fact that it's from repetitive stress. I think it's more of you have trigger points in there that have shortened the muscles, so now it's pulling harder. And that's not 100% all the time. But in my office, very often, if I break up those trigger points throughout those extensor muscles, it quickly relieves tennis elbow. And that's a hard thing to actually relieve.
Wow.
So that goes right back to shortened muscles pulling harder.
That's kind of funny you talk about tennis elbow, because that's how we got to know each other, with the origin of the one
TDC
cream, right? Which you use for your own tennis elbow. You should tell that story. That's a great one, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So a friend of mine was contacted by Mark,
business partner. Yeah,
business partner, and she said, "I want you to meet with this guy." And I said, "No, I'm good." And she goes, "No, you misunderstood me. I'm telling you, you're going to meet with this guy and give him 10 minutes." Yeah, she's like an older Italian woman. I was like, "Okay, I will listen." So we set up a meeting, and it was literally for 10 minutes. It was right before I was leaving for lunch. And the timing of it was impeccable because I was, I think, 2 under going into 8, and I plugged my ball in the lip of the bunker. So best case scenario, honestly, I'm going to get a double. So I was pretty pissed off, and I swung really hard, just hoping it would go somewhere, maybe get up and down, and maybe get a bogey. And when I did, and as soon as I came through, I felt it in my elbow. Wasn't terrible. I finished the round. Everything was fine, but it hurt every time I activated my extensors working on a patient. So that had been going on, I think, 4 days before I met with Mark. And so we met. He tells me about it. He gives me samples, and I leave for lunch. And when I came back, now I had been trying BioFreeze. There was a product at the time which was called Ibunex, which was a topical ibuprofen, and another product that I like, which instead of having just cooling in it like BioFreeze, it had capsaicin and a coolant, which was called Sombra, and I liked it. That was my go-to. And it didn't change the way my elbow felt. Like, yeah, I could feel tingling or heat, but the second I used that muscle, it hurt. So I got back from lunch, looked at my office manager, and I said, "All right, let's see what this crap does," because we've had 4 days of using it. And I put it on, went to treat patients, and I kid you not, in 10 minutes the pain was completely gone no matter what I did. And about 2 hours later, came back. I ran back into the office. I put it on again, and it went away again. And I had never, ever used something that was that profound.
And that quick, yeah.
And that quick, yeah. So that's how I started using one TDC, and I sold a ton of it to people because I had my experience that I know it works.
Yeah,
that's something with really good efficacy.
And that's a great story, because when we think of posture, when we think, like you said, like if I'm trying to hold myself, I can't eventually, it burns, right? But I mean, truth be told, I personally use it for that, specifically for my, lower part of my neck, but it does make a difference. And I think, just so the audience knows what's different about this product, as Dr. Kelly was talking about, it actually is transdermal. So it goes right through. It goes very deep into the tissues, and it promotes very, very healthy inflammatory responses. So that's why we always say, get the cream, get the supplement. You have a special actually scrolling down at the bottom. Take advantage of that. Get a starter pack and use the code Stronger 16. Dr. Kelly, I want to thank you for identifying some of the key 5 things that we can do to help with our posture. This is definitely a show you're going to want to share. You're going to want to watch again because it's something that we all need the reminder. You and I prepared this a little while back, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to keep doing this. So I got to go back. But I think the ultimate stretch is going to be my focus, and I'm going to do my best to get to that 12 minutes, but that's going to be, I think it's going to take some patience.
And just remember, make sure your head's supported when you're doing that one.
Yeah. Excellent. Any final words that we should know about improving our posture, Dr. Kelly?
Follow those simple 5 tips. And when it comes to water, my general rule of thumb is half your body weight in ounces.
Okay. Half the body. You heard it here. All right. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for tuning in. If you saw this live, don't forget to take advantage of the discounts. If not, it's still available right now. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Olivier.